Welcome, everybody. I'm David Lough, president of DSCA, and welcome to our October 4th. I think we're all happy to see it a little bit cooler, so we'll take even a 5 or 7 degree change. One thing I'd like to do is welcome, I see Donna Risto from BASO. As some of you will know, the BASO condos are about to start closing escrow in the next, say, month. But Donna will welcome you here as a hopeful future member. So welcome to you. And also, I'd like to welcome Vice Mayor here. Hello. Hello. Vice Mayor Alpert, so thanks for being here. First order of business, can I ask those of you on Zoom who are not speaking to mute, please, for the moment. And the next order of business here is to declare a quorum. And I counted noses, and I think we do indeed have a quorum of 6 of our members here. So let's declare it.
Judy's online.
Oh, and Judy's on the line, so we're at 7. Thanks, everybody. Next order of business is to approve the minutes, and those were circulated a couple days ago. And are there any edits, suggestions, corrections to those? If not,
Move to approve.
Patrick Gannon moves to approve, and a second by Bob Grillo. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and welcome Kathy Sellers, okay, to another board member. Moving ahead, treasurer's report, Clark.
Yeah, our checking account at Seacoast Bank has 25.
Jim is listening in.
Somebody's not muted on Zoom, please.
Drum roll, please. $2,542.30.
Great, okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, I'm pleased to introduce our guest speaker, Broxton Harvey. And Broxton comes with an impressive resume. I think you've been with the city now about 8 months. Eight months. And he's got 25 years experience in the parking industry. But another thing that struck me is he has a BA in history and a master's degree in world history. So here we have not only somebody who knows about parking, but somebody who knows about history. Broxton is with us because he's moving forward, bringing forward a number of parking initiatives and pretty comprehensive suggestions being made. So Broxton reported to the City Commission here about a month ago, roughly, and we thought we would invite him to be our guest. He and I spent some time on the phone the other day, and he knows that the nature of the DSCA organization is somewhat more downtown focused. And with that in mind, he's come with a presentation. Without further ado, Broxton, take it away.
Sure.
Thank you.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you guys doing? All right. So we're gonna go through parking proposals for the downtown area of Sarasota. So again, there are proposals. It's just basically taking a look at the parking operation and just see how it can be operated more efficiently. So hopefully everyone can see me on the screen here. So if we can just go to the first slide. Okay. We can go to the second slide here. Is that in full view? Okay, so the first proposed item is discussing the extension of paid parking program until 10 o'clock p.m. Currently, right now, our hours are from 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. And what I did is I actually took a look at the parking operation from a whole, and I actually came down on a weekend and I actually had space counts with my staff and my team for a whole entire week. And we came to determine that after 9 o'clock, or at 9 o'clock, we have 210 vehicles parked downtown. And at 10 o'clock, we have 190 vehicles parked downtown. So what we want to do is we want to take the opportunity to try to increase turnover, because what's happening right now is all of the parking spaces in the premium spots downtown are actually taken up after a certain amount of time. And if a person understands that if they come in at 6:10, 6:30, they can park there for a certain amount of time and they don't have to move. So that's not fair for the merchants. That's not fair for the retailers, because if someone has a reservation, let's say at 8 o'clock or 8:30, when they pull into their the parking spot of their favorite restaurant, they're not able to find parking because, again, we don't have that turn. And what you want to do is actually try to create turn. And again, we looked at it from a safety aspect as well, because we want to make sure that we are still here for those extra 2 hours, that if anyone's parked in an ADA space or is blocking a fire hydrant and things of that nature, we're actually going to have that extra 2 hours to actually implement our safety enforcement as well. Currently, right now, St. Petersburg, their hours are until 11 o'clock. And right now, Fort Myers is extending their parking program. Currently, right now, they stop at 5, but they're actually going to go all the way until 9 o'clock at the end of 2023. So again, I'm proposing that we extend the paid parking program until 10 o'clock versus the current 8 o'clock right now. It's just 2 more hours. Next slide. Okay, again, Sunday safety paid parking program. So I'm not recommending paid parking on Sunday, just enforcing safety. Again, increasing monitoring the safety issues of the spaces on Sunday. I came down on a Sunday again, and I noticed that there were a lot of cars parked downtown on Sunday. Again, we don't want to charge, but I noticed that there were cars parked illegally, over the lines. There were numerous safety violations. So what I'm proposing is that we continue to keep Sundays free under the proposal. And currently on Sundays, we have about 200 vehicles downtown, and we would enforce ADA accessible spaces, ADA aisles, no parking zones, parking outside of designated area, restricted area, blocking areas, and blocking the fire hydrant as well.
So does that mean you'll have the reps in their scooters?
Well, yeah, but they're not looking to see if anyone paid for parking. They're only looking for people that, again, that may be parked in a ADA space that should not be in an ADA space, that is parked, you know, they made up their own parking spot, right? Because right now, everyone understands that there is no enforcement on Sundays. So that's not a good, you know, combination with a lot of cars and people knowing that there's no enforcement or there's no accountability if you actually park illegally. So.
Do you have enforcement till 10 p.m.?
No, we did not. Currently, right now, we have until 8, but I'm proposing to go to 10.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. Extending the downtown metered parking program. So when I first moved to Sarasota, I noticed that we had metered parking on Main Street and on Palm Avenue, but I noticed that we did not have it on Pineapple, which is a main vein of the city. So I'm the kind of person that because I've been in the parking industry for so long, I ride around before I make my decision about where I'm going to park, because I'm very conscious of where I'm going to park at. So I realized that we had metered parking on Main Street, but if I was to walk 50 feet further on Central or on Pineapple, that there was 2 hours parking. So I chose to park on the 2-hour parking lot or parking space. So what I'm proposing, for us to be more efficient as far as our parking operation, you shouldn't have free parking that close to paid parking. It's just not a great business model. So what I'm proposing is to expand the current meter program 103 spaces, and they're very particular in the ones that I actually propose to be metered. And currently right now, before I even suggested that, I rode around the whole entire downtown area and I realized that we have 598 2- and 3-hour on-street parking spaces downtown. Again, that's on-street parking. That's not including the parking lots that we have that are free at Payne Park or the library. These are just on-street parking spaces. And I didn't even go over on Fruitville to Rosemary, where we have more 2-hour free parking. So again, proposing 103 meter spaces, that will still leave 495 2-hour and 3-hour parking spaces. If we can go to the next slide, we will have the map. So for just a point of reference, this right here is going to be the City Hall, and that's the parking lot. So I'm proposing starting on First Street, with right now it's 2-hour parking. So starting right on the side of Whole Foods, going all the way down to Pineapple, making a left on Pineapple, coming back to Central, right around 5 Points Park, and then also here on State Street. These are all 2-hour parking spaces, and I'm proposing to make these metered with the same rates as the rates on Main Street and on Ringo. Next slide. The reduction of the 2-hour grace period in the garages to 30 minutes. So it's a great amenity to have your our visitors to the city to come into the garages and park for 2 hours free in the garage. But again, as I stated, we have 598 2-hour and 3-hour parking spaces downtown. So I'm proposing to reduce the 2-hour grace period down to 30 minutes. And again, grace periods are not meant for people just to come in and park for 2 hours. Grace periods were implemented so that if a person actually comes into the garage, they either can't find a parking space or they're in the wrong parking facility, they can now come back out, exit without having to pay because they're in the wrong garage. But the way we have it set up is that 54% of our users downtown actually come in for less than 2 hours. So for a business model, if you're looking at 50% of your users and your visitors, they come in and they don't pay for your service, that's not a great business model. So what we're again proposing is to go down to 30 minutes. Well, let me back up. So I did a 1 year evaluation. We had 242,000 transactions. 152 were under the 2 hours. And again, I'm proposing that we go down to the 30-minute grace period, which would still give 63,580 users free parking less than 30 minutes. And again, anyone that wants to park for 2 hours can park on the street because we'll still have 598 parking spaces on the street. Less than actually 495 if we actually were to meter the 103 that I'm proposing. But still a large number, almost 500. Next slide. Monthly permits. Currently, right now, our regular monthly parking rate is $100. So the $100 is for anyone that is not an employee of the city. So if someone's a resident, they have a condo, an apartment downtown, and they have a second or a third car, and they want to come in and they want to park in one of our garages, it's $100. What the city has done is the city has implemented a very generous discount for anyone that's an employee of a business downtown, and they only pay $20 per month. So that's 80% discount from the $100. So right now that's 67 cents per day. What I am recommending is to increase that fee to $35, which will be $1.17 per day. And that's based on a 30-day calendar month. So again, I'm proposing going from $20 to $35. It's only a 50 cents increase per day. The downtown lots, so anyone that wants to park at a lot downtown, which would be First Street, would still remain $20. That would not increase. Again, the regular monthly parking rate is $100 and it's discounted heavily right now to $20, which is an 80% discount. I'm recommending to go up to $35, which is still a 65% decrease.
Most unpopular in Sarasota.
Well, it's just one of those things where I just look at it and just try to evaluate the situation and basically make recommendations based on my observations.
Can I ask you, does this affect the public parking garage
It
that's
does
up
not.
there? Okay, and the Whole Food is not affected?
No.
by them either? Oh, all right.
Just
But
the
as
one-
far as
just the gates.
time-wise, I mean, but also as far as the time, you are
Sure.
restricting.
Only the paid garages, which will be the ones that have the equipment in the gates. So the time restrictions would not, the 2 hour, I think it's actually 3 hours inside of the market, if I'm not mistaken. And the Whole Foods, it would not affect those two garages, only State Street and Palm.
But as far as your proposal, I mean, it would go to 10 o'clock then for the Mark and for Whole Food? Because I think right now.
The hours will still remain the same because those are, my proposal is for the on-street enforcement.
Okay, all right.
So the garages are two separate things.
Okay, all right.
So the garages, their hours will still, they're currently at 12 o'clock during the weekday. It's free on Sunday, Friday, Saturday, you go to 2 a.m. So those hours will still be the same.
One request, for those of you on Zoom, please mute. We're getting some background conversation, please.
All right?
Hang on.
Okay.
So I did have a follow-up question on this, sir.
Sure.
So we have 7 or 78 people who have a monthly pass. How many of those are employees of downtown businesses?
I don't have that exact number, but I would say over 95%. The majority of our parkers are employees. We have a very small percentage that actually are residents at the $100 rate.
And so the businesses who negotiated that rate with previous management was so that it would enable us to not have an undue burden on employees, especially those who have been priced out of living where they can bicycle or walk to work or having to drive from break into work and have that added expense of parking. So as I understood, that was one of the reasons why it was negotiated at that rate as an effective business. And now what's being proposed is a 75% increase to what they're currently paying.
Sure.
And for somebody who might be burdened with whether it's kids or anything else that they have to pay expenses for, it may only seem like, gee, it's only a few cents a day. That could be a significant added burden to some businesses in town. In fact, what is the feedback you're getting from those businesses?
Yeah, sure. I'm open, and that's why we're having these conversations right now, is to actually get that feedback. Again, their proposals. And if I may ask, when was that rate actually negotiated? You said that it was a rate that was negotiated. This rate was negotiated with the previous management or commission. So
There was a parking master plan that was put together. The committee was done.
Sure.
That was when the current parking meters were put in place.
Sure.
And there was reasons why the sites were selected.
Sure.
The reasons why with the garages, it was not considered a 2-hour quote grace period that, gee, I forgot parked in the wrong place.
Sure.
It was free parking for the first 2 hours to get people to at least park in the garages instead of saying we can't go to these restaurants because it's a block and a half of parking on the streets. So in order to get the businesses to say, okay, it's not going to negatively impact our business, we'll have parking meters on the street, but it'll be free for 2 hours. And so taking that 2 hours away free, I expect will impact some number of people who come downtown to businesses where they can at least park for free. If not, then they're going to find other places where they park for free so they don't have an added tax on a night out, even for dinner within a 2-hour period. So
Sure.
that's another question of the restaurants being impacted by parking.
Sure. I would say to that is that, again, that's why I was trying to figure out how long has it been? When have the rates been evaluated? Because my understanding is that the grace period was 3 hours initially. Well, first of all, the garages were free. And this is all before me. The garages were free. Then when they put the equipment in, there was a 3 hour grace period. And then the 3 hours now has gone to 2, if I'm not mistaken. So also our rates have increased on the street. They were $1, now we've gone to $1.50 and things of that nature. Again, we're just evaluating and looking at where we're at right now and making sure that we're up with the market. There's no other place that you can park in Sarasota for $20. If you would go to any other office building, I think the average rate for any other office building is around $45. So we're still, even with that proposed rate, we'll still be up under the market rate. So.
Peter, you had a question?
Yes, originally as well, we learned that putting a rate, raising the rate is hitting the most vulnerable people and the least available people for employment. We are running short of employees at the lower wage schedule, which is going to impact me because when I go to a restaurant, there's not going to be anybody to take my order. So I don't think you ought to be raising the rate on anyone that impacts. Some employers do not participate in getting their employees. So I think you've got to try to keep the rate of parking for especially the vulnerable employees at what it is now, if not free.
Sure.
You can't give it free. And to say that, the city looks at that, office workers, most office workers are making $30,000 or more. Most people that I'm talking about are making under $30,000. So there is a discrepancy there. The other thing is what Patrick brought up, and that is, on garage parking. The reason we went to that and had some experience after a while and dropped it to 2 hours, because that seemed like a reasonable rate to drive people off of the streets. Now you're going to drive people to cause them to park on the streets rather than 2 hours free, and you're taking 100 spots away from those streets where they're going to go park. I think you have to look at the interaction of each one of your proposed revenue stream increases and see what it does to impact on the other streams that you're talking about. I don't see 100 spots available in that manner. I think you need to keep the garages at what they are and get the people off the streets so that there's more availability on the streets.
Sure. I definitely understand your thought process on that. If I could, I'm going to just try to go through the presentation and we'll just hold all the questions, for the end. Thank you. Okay, so the next slide is going to be making the downtown garages gateless and using on-street technology. So currently, right now, the way it was is that, back in the 90s, there was like this big push to, you had a lot. You had to make sure you put parking access and revenue controls, which are basically gates and ticket stairs. That's the way you control parking, right? So, and a lot of parking decks were being built in the 90s and things of that nature. We were putting a lot of money into equipment. Now technology has changed where we have gateless garages now. So my proposal is to actually take out the gates and the equipment and actually utilize the same type of technology that's on the streets. So when you basically come in, you will come in, you don't have to stop. There's a LPR reader, license plate recognition, that actually takes a picture of your tag. You would go in and you would park, and you have 10 or 15 minutes to download the app, or if you already have the app, pay for parking, and you're on your way. And when you get ready to leave, they actually take a picture of your license plate again. So for those people that did not pay for parking, they didn't download the app, or they didn't pay for parking like they did on the street, when they get ready to leave, we now have their tag and we can actually send them their, not citation, their actual invoice in the mail saying, hey, you forgot to pay for parking, here's your $5 invoice.
So if I use the app, there won't be a surcharge going forward then to use the app. Right now, if I use the app, I get a surcharge.
That does not go away, because that's
That
not
doesn't go
our, that's
away.
not our surcharge, that's the company that we're utilizing, which is Park Mobile, that's their charge for utilizing the service.
It may not be yours, but it's mine.
Sure, I understand.
So
Yeah.
what is the QR code based option then?
So the QR code, again, instead of downloading the app, you can just use your phone and just scan. We're gonna have them all over the garage. You can just scan the QR code like you go out to a restaurant, opens up the link. You can then, purchase however much parking that you want, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, pay for parking, enter your vehicle information, and you're on your way. So it's the same as the app, it's just you don't have to download all these different apps. You can just use your QR code.
It opens up a web browser, is what you're saying, so you don't have to open up an app?
Correct. Okay, so again, using gateless garages, ease of use for the parking for the customer, parking app or QR code based. We can even have text to pay. That's not on here, but we can actually utilize text to pay. So you just text the number and you can pay for parking that way. Faster transaction times, you don't have to worry about less congestion and traffic backup. You don't have to worry about a line when you're getting ready to leave, of people trying to find their ticket, put it into the machine, just making it more efficient. And for those that do not want to utilize the app or the QR code or text to pay, we will still have a pay station located by the elevators. So if someone wants to actually walk in and use their credit card, they can actually go and use their credit card at that point in time by the elevators. Use of LPR, and it eliminates the repair and maintenance on the current parking access and revenue control equipment. Next slide.
How about the elevators in the garages?
The elevators at home are fixed. They're both up and running.
It's a pain in the butt
Sure.
because it happens so frequently.
Every time it happens, we place a call, the same exact, they come out that day, they will fix it. And it just so happens that the elevator, they're at that age where they're starting to have mechanical issues. And we basically, at this point, I would say that they're probably almost brand new, because I don't think there are any more parts that we can actually replace on it.
Well, I'm
So-
84 and
Sure.
I'm expected to climb the stairs.
Which garage is this that you're expected to climb the
Promenade.
stairs? Okay, so whenever the elevators are down, we put signage up, and we actually say that for assistance,
I
call this
understand
number. Sure. And we
What
have a
I'm
shuttle. We
saying
have
is,
a
I'm
shuttle.
expected
Sure,
to use some wear and tear on my body to climb 5 flights of stairs,
but you're not expected to do that. I just said.
so
that-
I don't
yeah.
park there. Is that the
No,
alternative?
you're not expected to climb the stairs. Again, that's why we have the shuttle for you.
Okay,
But right now, it's actually working right now.
But you can find on the street.
okay. Hey, gang, let's go through the rest of it.
right.
Just looking at my watch.
Okay.
So please, and then
Got
we'll
it.
come back. to
Okay.
that.
Parking waivers and appeals. I'm proposing that we eliminate the parking waiver program. This was a temporary program that was started at the beginning of the parking program. So what the waiver program is that a person basically gets their first citation. It has to be a meter violation. So if they didn't pay the meter, or they went overtime, they could basically come into the parking office with their citation, show a receipt that they spent $25 or more in the area, and we will waive their first citation. That was only meant when we first started out the program, and it's been over 4 years now, and it's still going on. Right now, we have 5% of our citations being waived. It's not a large percentage, but at this point, everyone pretty much knows that there's a paid parking program in Sarasota. So there's not a need to waive 5% of the revenues for citations. Also, there are no other municipalities that have a waiver system. Also, the next thing that I'm proposing is an increase in the appeals fee from $7.50 to either $15, $20, or $25. Approximately, we have 300 upheld appeals out of 600. And what the increase will do, it was actually assist in covering the cost of the magistrate and the proceedings that are $120 an hour. Currently, Fort Myers, their appeals fee is $175. St. Petersburg is $100 and Bradenton is $100 as well. I'm only proposing to go from $7.50 to 15 or 20 or 25. These are just my recommended rates. And again, if you appeal and you win, you pay nothing. You don't pay your ticket and you don't pay the appeals fee. But right now at $7.50, that doesn't even cover the cost of the magistrate at $125. So that's the reason why I'm just asking to go up to a small increase of $15 or $20. Next slide. Citation fee schedule, I'm proposing that we increase. Again, we're taking a look at the citation fees and we're looking at what other municipalities are charging. Currently, right now, time restricted is $25, back-end violations, $35, no parking area, $30. I'm only proposing a $10 increase to $35, $45, and $40. Currently, downtown has 52,586 citations annually. Next slide. So right now, if you look at Sarasota, again, we're at 25, 35, and 30. Bradenton, they're the only ones that's pretty much a little bit cheaper than us. They're 25 across the board. Fort Myers, they're 15 time restricted, but when you go up to the next tier of back-end parking and no parking, they go up to $50. Again, we're at 35 and 30. St. Petersburg, they're $50 for time restricted, $30 for back-end, and they're $60 for no parking zones. And Naples, they're $100 across the board. So again, I'm proposing only going up $10 again. So next. Okay, so Centennial Boat Ramp metered parking. So there are 67 trailer spaces, 28 single vehicle spaces. On average, we have 40 trailers a day and 20 cars daily. I'm discussing right now, it is free. Right now, I want to discuss the possibility of a flat rate of either $10, $20, or $25 for vehicles with trailers for all day, and discuss a flat rate of $5 for single vehicles. And go to the next slide. It will show what the other surrounding areas are charging. Pinellas County, they are charging for parking $6 for vehicles with a trailer, 2 without. The parking fee at Fort DeSoto Park is $5 for a vehicle without the trailer. Lee County parking is $10. And the Davis Boat Ramp at Fort Myers is $5 per day. Next. Electric vehicle charging. So right now, currently, the charging stations that are owned by the city are currently free. So what I am proposing, I am not proposing to try to make money off of the charging. But what I did look at when the invoices come across my desk on a monthly basis is that we're paying $1,700 for utility costs. And currently $10,000 in repair and maintenance because the charging stations go down. So we have to get them repaired. We have to have a company to come out and actually make those repairs. So in order to recoup those costs, I am recommending a fee of $1 per hour. And if we look, Bradenton, they're charging $1.80 per hour with a minimum of 75 cents for their charge. Next slide. Okay, so credit card only program. I'm proposing, again, looking at it and making it more efficient because right now we have people that are coming in, giving change, putting cash in, waiting for your change, utilizing staff to go out and remove the money from the meters. I have 2 full-time staff members. That's their entire job. They go around to the meters and the pay stations and they actually collect cash and coins. So what I'm proposing is to go credit card only. That will reduce the cash handling procedures and safety concerns because I can't have one person out there collecting money by himself. I have to have 2. It's easier to reconcile. Credit cards are easier and faster to reconcile, faster transactions, Again, just put your credit card in or you can tap it and you're on your way. Current cash parking revenue is only 12% of my total revenue. So I'm utilizing 2 full-time staff members to go out and collect less than 12% of my revenue. I can repurpose those 2 parking revenue collection specialists, 2 officers, and the only negative is the more credit cards that we accept, the more the credit cards fees are gonna be. In the next slide. Any questions?
Broxton, one of the things you talked about in your other presentation
Yes.
was that if you implemented everything similar,
Yep.
that it could be as much as $3.5 million in
That's-
added revenue. Could you
Yes.
talk to us about the revenue
Sure,
side
sure.
of things?
So again, all of these, even though we didn't look at it from a revenue standpoint, they're actually gonna make money if you reduce the hours, if you increase to try to make things more efficient. And we're trying to be in line with the current rate structure. The recommendations will possibly estimate, there's an estimation of 3.5, close to $3.5 million. Now that does include St. Armand's as well, which I didn't speak about in this presentation. So, but again, yes, it would be $3.5 million.
Are you running much of a deficit for parking that you need this extra revenue?
Again, it's not about the revenue, it's about making the parking more efficient, expanding the parking program, and actually making improvements to the paid parking program. And no, we're not running out of deficit at this time. We should be in the black.
Does that
Projected.
give you a profit to the bottom line?
Sorry?
Do you end up with a budget profit? I mean, does your budget then going to make money at the bottom line?
Well, whenever I make my budget, I always anticipate making a profit. I never want to lose when I
So
make my
that, what
budget.
happens with that profit?
Again, that just goes back into the parking, into the city's fund, or the general fund.
To the general fund?
Yes,
This may be more of a question for Commissioner Albert than you.
sure.
But on occasion, when we've tried to put in regional fees like this, we've also tried to take any profit from that and turn it back into, this maybe turn it into transportation, maybe fund a new I-ride, maybe fund something like that, rather than going just into the general fund, but set it up within the parking division to support transportation.
One of the things that was mentioned is, you know, after FDOT quits paying their half of the cost of the trolley, then the city will have to bear that. So some of this could go towards helping fund the trolley and, you know, perhaps some other kind of transportation, you know, to benefit the areas that are, you know, have to pay parking. So that's, you know, that's just one idea, because we are gonna have to come up with funds for that, or just continue the trolley, maybe get better elevators, you know, things like that obviously have to come out of this parking revenue.
You know, I'd rather it didn't go to capital costs, but operations cost actually. So elevators, that's gotta be in SIP budget.
Yes.
You had said that you did a study on how long cars were parking, and you did a study of the under 2 hours.
Yes.
Did you do a study of the 30 minutes? You had
Yes.
data available. What was the percent there?
Well,
How many?
not the percentage, I think it was, I think I said 68,000. I think the number was there, it was like 68,000, we're still under 30 minutes, so we still have 68,000 users. That was still, the original number under 2 hours was 152,000.
Okay.
Now, I don't have it in front of me, but
Okay.
it's close, 152, and then down to 68.
Roxanne, we're almost out of time, but can you,
Sure.
what kind of feedback are you getting from downtown merchants? What kind of reactions? You've got some
Sure.
here today, but is there any theme that you're hearing?
Well, it's half and half. I would say it's 50-50 either way. Some ideas are supported and some are not. Of course, anytime you're talking about, taking away 2 hours for free parking, that may be something that people are raising an eyebrow at. But again, the way I look at it, as we still have over 500 2- and 3-hour parking spaces. And a lot of people may say, okay, well, those spaces are too far. But again, they're within 1 or 2 blocks of Main Street, those spaces. Again, so, and I'm not just talking about the core of downtown, those 500 or 600 spaces, they're all over downtown, even on the other side of Washington and closer to school and things of that nature. We have that many spaces available.
And what
And
are
it
your,
includes Burns Court as well.
and what are your next steps? Again, we're basically out of time, but what timeline, what process are you working on?
Again, my whole point was to come out here and get feedback from the community. Again, these are proposals. There's nothing written in stone. It's just I want to get feedback from the community, because what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're building a program and that I have everybody on board. I don't want to just implement something and then I don't have the backing of the community, because I want this to be a community effort. Again, I just want to make it more efficient, parking more efficient. And it's one of those things, it's just like growing pains. But the next steps would be, after I engage with the community, then I would possibly try to get it back on the agenda, back in front of the commission.
I have
Sure.
to say that the price you're putting on the paid labor in downtown Sarasota is going to cause an uprising. How dare you increase the cost of getting underpaid workers?
All right, Roger, and then this will be the last question, please.
Well, if you can generate some funds, what, and you alluded to this, what about investing in I-rides or in the Bay Runner, which reduces the need for vehicles downtown?
Sure.
It would seem like that would be a logical extension of the use of any parking dollars, as to eliminate people's need to drive. Any reaction to that?
Yeah. Well, that's why we actually do have the Bay Runner, and we have Theo as well. So what we look at is people can get to where they can go, but the first mile and the last mile is the hardest part, right? Because if you have to go to a bus stop, you may have to walk a mile or half a mile to the bus stop. And then when you get there, you still have to walk to your final destination. So that is what the Bay Runner and VO is try to bridge that gap. Now, as far as iRide, my first time hearing about it was, yesterday, but it's just, it is something that, we can definitely take a look at. I'm not sure what the history is on iRide, but from what I've heard, it may be an option to maybe help with transportation as well.
Yeah, and then just a final comment. You and I talked about iRide the other day.
Yes.
And what is changing downtown is about 2,000 to 3,000 more people in the coming 5 years. The Quay will be about 700 dwelling units just over there. And we've talked about the Rosemary. So compared with when iRide didn't work for a number of reasons, we've got a different ballgame now and one on the horizon. So I think the iRide, showing people that if there is going to be some pain, and not necessarily everything, or some sacrifice, or that it is going to something that is helping mitigate challenges that businesses and residents have.
Sure.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much, Broxton. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I think there may have been a couple of questions on the screen, but I'm not sure if you got to them.
I'm afraid if there were,
I'll tell you what we can do is, why don't we capture those, email those.
Yeah, okay. Broxton, we certainly appreciate that complicated or whatever. So our next item on the agenda is something really positive, I think. Victor, Victor, are you with us? If you'd unmute. I circulated with the board package, and I believe I've spoken to virtually all the board members about my invitation or my proposal to bring Victor Matier onto our board. Okay.
David, I'm here.
Okay, hi, Victor. And I circulated Victor's bio, and it reads like we're inviting somebody in who's who onto our board. Victor was born and raised in Baltimore. He received his doctorate in law from Rutgers, where he then moved to Mississippi, where he handled over 40 years of litigation, ultimately arguing before the Supreme Court in part of a trial team that won the first ever monetary damage verdicts against the Ku Klux Klan. Matier has received countless awards nationally and locally, and I've gotten to know Victor a bit in some one-on-ones, and just find he lives at BLVD condos with his wife of 51 years. Just a delightful individual who I know will bring yet a new and added dynamic and strength to our board. So it is my recommendation, and may I move that we elect Victor Matier to our board at this time.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first by
You.
me, okay, and then we have a second by Ken Sheelan. Judy, so that's me and Ken Sheelan, and all in favor?
Aye.
Victor, welcome, and would you like to say a few words about DSCA? And we're really looking forward to your further involvement.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity. I am really, really honored to be part of the group. I've had a chance to work with most of you. I've gotten to know you, and I have learned so much. I hope I can be of some help in some of the massive plans and programs that we have ahead of us.
Well, thank you, Victor, and welcome, and we'll see you next week, hopefully, next month, hopefully in person. So enjoy it. I think you're in New York or somewhere.
Yeah, I am. Matter of fact, right now I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut, getting another award, I understand. So congratulations to you and welcome to the DSCA board.
Thank you very much.
Another nice bit of news is we have a new regular member condo, the Q condos. Michael Mara. Michael, are you with us? I'm not sure he is, but the Q, I believe, are on Ringling, just off Ringling, kind of tucked back in there. And thanks to Jamie for reaching out to Michael. And I would like the consideration of having the Q yet one more condo, townhome kind of organization joining the DSCA family. So is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Peter Fanning and seconded by Ken Sheelan. Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Old business.
Mr. Chair, point of order. This is a new business item. Is there a chance to bring up new business at some time in the agenda? Should it be brought here or at the end of the agenda? Given the presentation we've just heard on parking and understanding that the residents very much are in favor of having viable, sustainable merchants and other considerations around parking, I'd like to suggest, it's only a suggestion, that DSCA try to sit down with the principals of the SDEA, the Sarasota Downtown Enrichment Association, which is basically the merchants, and any other organization like DSA or something, that we at least get together to hear what their concerns are and ours, to make sure that we're not working cross purposes with each other. The merchants may have a different set of, no-go stuff. We may have some no-go stuff, but if we can come together and agree on the to-go stuff, that would be a very positive aspect of providing it to Harvey and the commission.
I think that's a great idea. How do you see that unfolding, Peter?
I think that either you as president could ask for participants and from DSCA, and you as the president, and maybe the executive, or the board could say, yeah, we want to talk to these organizations, and we go to the president of those organizations and say, are they interested in meeting?
I think that's a great idea. Is there somebody who would like to chair that initial effort?
I can't share it, but I would be willing, because I know and go to the meetings of SDEA and DSA at least. I would be willing to talk to those groups about coming together with us for this activity. I'm not sure I could share that given the other chairs that I'm dealing with.
Can I just ask you, are you looking to see that this comes together in one room? Get a
Yes.
group of people? Because I do have a room already reserved that I'm
All
going to
right.
be using, so I'm just suggesting, throwing that out there, that
And I
that
don't
might be
envision this to
perfect.
be a big group. I mean, maybe.
No,
6
no,
or
but
8
I mean,
people.
I have the space, so we could just target that date.
Well, I think that's a great idea. Can by consensus, we just say that Peter will take this first step and we'll see where it goes from there. I think it's positive to see DSCA take a, I don't want to say leadership, but play a role in trying to bring folks together. I think it's a great idea. Thank you. Under old business, is there anything, Bob or Patrick, to discuss on our community survey? I'm interested in a brief report of what kind of feedback we might have gotten from people in the boards that have seen it and kind of maybe digested it.
I think people have found it really useful. Some of the data, particularly insurance, because it's been such a killer this year. And also the maintenance fee part of it is really important. It was very useful here for our board. I shared it with our board, and it was limited to our board. I think it went really well. I think the data is really good, and it's really useful. And I think the next time we do it again, maybe in a couple of years, there's maybe a couple other questions we could throw in there, but for now, I think we did. I think you got a pretty good response.
Okay. And Patrick, thanks for all your work on it. I know you put
Absolutely.
Cheryl, we normally don't allow it, but if you got brief feedback, I know you got the survey. What are your reactions?
Well, because our condo showed the highest insurance, both per square foot and total. One of the things I would have liked to add is why we were so high. And we had a fire and an insurance claim.
I will do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, and thank you, Bob, and everybody involved in that. The next item on the agenda is we talked about last month. CCNA is having, well, they're calling it a summit this Saturday, and they are inviting just the member representatives. So round numbers 30. I will be DSCA's representative, and they are looking for input from the neighborhoods on what are some of the key goals and issues that if there's a consensus on some of those, so CCNA might take those to the city. I've done some work on that, and I am late in getting it to you folks. Patrick, do you
Yeah,
have
we
that?
share that here.
And one of the slight struggles here is DSCA is such a weird animal when it comes to the neighborhoods, right? I mean, we are unique in a way of being 23% of the city's population and 1.8 schools. And some of the needs and issues, shall we say, of our residents may be somewhat different. Less focus, for example, on hotel houses or Airbnbs, but more focused on, say, noise.
You know, also, if I may, you know, there's this presentation today on parking.
Right.
CCNA, I mean, you know, people live off of it, even some of the neighborhoods there, the Oaks, whatever they are. They'll say, well, we're only 10 minutes from downtown. So I think, and they're gonna definitely be driving. I can't imagine they're gonna be taking a bus or walking. So, you know, these new parking proposals are, I think, going to be important too.
Okay, so as I looked at our goals, and I know I struggled with doing this, but I guess I was starting more with possibly some more visionary, big picture stuff. And Ken and I talked a little before the meeting about drilling down to more specifics. But I wanted to get your feedback on the more lofty things. I started with foster an engaged community, as engaged in the sense of walkable streets, transportation alternatives other than personal cars and walking, and parking, the right types and spots. I mean, this kind of goes, in my way of thinking, a way of getting people out on the streets and communicating and more of a sense of community. The second item was kind of greener, you know, whether it be that occurring through an urban forestry program. I was really pleased to see there's a city commission agenda meeting or a workshop on the urban forestry program coming up relatively soon. The engineering design criteria manual, which regulates a right-of-way space and other enhanced green areas. The other area that occurred to me more globally is zoning and ordinances. Rules, I mean, I use the term rules to foster smart growth. And I use the term closed loopholes. I think we all know about the Obsidian situation where we are on that issue, but the interstitial space, which was, I believe most people would say, loophole got fixed. And then ordinances to preserve quality of life. And we all know sound ordinances is still out there. The other area was what I'll call health and safety, homelessness policies, pedestrian and vehicular safety, the new program that people, the group of us are working on, the City Watch that has been recommended by Chief of Police, the SPD, let's just call it foot patrols downtown. Let's call it community policing. And the final item in my, again, throwing it out there for reaction, is community engagement in city policies. Entry to matters earlier possible in the progress, ability to input into city priorities and the budget earlier. And I'm pleased to hear that there's a charrette, actually I'll be going to tomorrow, that is being hosted by one of the developers in town for Laurel Park neighborhood. And I'm getting from Ron Cashton some feedback that has been positive. Are there other opportunities? And I use the term partnership with developers. That's probably the wrong word. It's more engagement or whatever you want to call it. So this was my shot. I wrung my hands trying to come up with this stuff. And I'm looking for feedback on what am I missing? The one thing I want to make sure is that financial sustainability also. Financial, as we lose the county admin building, as people work more remotely, what strategies and goals can we have to ensure, and as the concerns about parking charging for the worker folks. So I'm going to be quiet. Please, some input on this, please.
I do think that last statement, when I first thought I was reading through that, I do think it should be engagement with developers.
Yeah, no, that was.
That might give us, put us in the wrong light.
Oh, sure.
It seems really comprehensive, David. I think you did a really good job.
Now, this is going to get distilled into the stew. The
Right,
CCNA.
exactly.
But I was trying to think a little bit more lofty, for lack of a better word. Maybe that's the wrong word, but more.
What was your last item that's not on, that you commented on?
Oh, the partial partnership with developers. Okay, that is the cooperation. You know, we know the commission voted 3-2 to not require community workshops, even when, attainable. But they can do it voluntarily. They can do it voluntarily now. And we have one model with the Charette Laurel Park. And I know Judy Moore, there's the Golden Gate Point Association, or whatever they call themselves, have seems like some positive relationships with developers building there. And is there something we can learn and try to replicate, even if it's not required? How can we try and engage where it's a win-win?
I think I would award you an honorary master's degree in urban planning.
I
didn't hear what he said.
Honorary master's degree in urban planning today.
Patrick.
I think you pulled it all together very, very well. One thing, I think your top one is a summary of all. What I might suggest is the one you have at the bottom, you move up into second, because without the engagement in city policy decisions, the rest of those go away. I mean, there's no hope of achieving any of those other engagements if we don't have engagement at the policy level for that. And to me, it also fits in with what CCNA is doing with their meaningful neighborhood input. And there is an educational component that I know we're trying to deal with here, and Kathy's working on, of clarifying, both engagement of our member reps here, but also engagement with the community. How, community workshops are a different animal. They actually level the playing field, which it is not now. There's so much more that is given away to developers, declaring parking, say, construction zone, entire blocks. Trucks park anywhere. So there is a already embedded proclivity on the developer side. And I think at least having community workshops is something in there. And I would advocate to at least move that meaningful community engagement to the top of the sub-list there as a way to help them achieve those other ones that you encapsulate very well.
Anybody else? Peter, Kathy, Clark? Well, may I leave it this way? Let me go back, taking Patrick's comments. Let me slightly wordsmith this and get it around to you. We've got until Saturday morning, so I'll try and get something out to you tomorrow.
These aren't ranked in any special order.
No, and in fact, I was, over a couple of Starbucks, I was struggling with this, and I did. We've all done goals and spent hours, wordsmithing stuff. But I was trying to look at a combination of vision and you know, who we are as a city and what I think I've learned about, because, I mean, I will be the first to say, 4 years ago, I didn't know squat about zoning. I still know enough to be dangerous, but at least I know, you know, some stuff. So let me go, okay, consensus, I'm gonna go away and come back to you all on email and certainly, Vice Mayor, if you have any thoughts now, if you.
Not offhand, other than just, you know, possible, I think engagement with developers is
Yeah, oh, of course.
term there, but, are you gonna email that to me? So
I would be happy to, yeah.
David, quick question, please. What about arts and culture? Is that a,
Oh, you know, thank you. Thank you. I had that on another draft that is part of economics sustainability. And that is a, thank you for bringing that up. Arts and culture, right. Okay, so then let's move along to our next item. President's report. I don't think I have anything outside of what we've kind of talked about here. Kathy, any particular city updates?
No, unfortunately, I didn't hear the meeting this week, but there is, it seems like there's an important one coming up, but no, I don't have it.
Okay. And then moving on, Ken had to go to a Selby event on arts and culture. I understand on the Van Wezel matter, the task committee took a tour of the Van Wezel a week or so ago. I don't know exactly what his stand about that, but apparently that was a very intensive with 40 people or so, including Marlon. So I think it's good to see what is learned firsthand about that. I don't have anything else on arts and culture. Oh, art in the roundabouts.
yeah.
I brought a month ago or whenever it was discovered that the cost to install the art was very, very high and about $400,000 or $500,000 more than had been budgeted. And there was a move, it seemed, to try and find other locations. I stuck my nose out and said, it seems to me, and I kind of did this on my own, I don't think I voted on this, but the vision for the roundabouts for years and years has been that the art in the roundabouts would be kind of a signature item, kind of an entryway into the city with the 14th, 10th, and Fruitville. And I also brought up the point about there is a degree of here is the roundabouts as they get to 10th and 14th are in a little bit different makeup of neighborhoods than here. And it was an ability for people driving through the airport to, you know, to have a statement made. So I believe, and Vice Mayor, it is going to be an agenda item, a discussion of that. Is it a workshop or is it an agenda item?
I think we're gonna do it, I think as a workshop, but I could be wrong, but we are gonna, I mean, the sympathy that I felt on the board or on the commission was that we wanna find, put it in the roundabouts.
And
because that's been, for all the reasons that David said.
Yeah. I guess it's premature for us to vote on this, but I mean, I would hope that when something more specific, what the sentiment is, rather than finding a place to plunk this artwork that was done for a site specific, just seems frankly crazy. So we will follow it and let's see what comes. I know there's a concern, Mary Davis Wallace, about creating a precedent if you did it, then you'd have to do Fruitville and the rest. But I think, yeah, I think that that would be a good precedent to set. And, the fabric of this, of our city is, you can't quantify. So, okay, yes,
Yes, comment.
yep,
I like the fact that we're getting art, and more of it, and especially appropriate art for the highway interchange, for the roundabouts on 41. Some of the designs that have come through, in fact, the one that's already approved, to me, falls in the category is, if you need a plaque to describe it, it doesn't belong in something that people are going by, at 15, 20 miles an hour and trying to yield and keep track in front of them. So there is I think, some mode that needs to be done of, okay, this is great art, but if you want a plaque, it goes over here where people can walk by. If it's immediately understandable, like a roundabout at airport in Cork, Ireland, that has little folded paper sculptures. Like, this is the roundabout for the airport, these little kitty folded paper plane kinds of sculptures. So simple things would be great. Something that is 2 or 3 things built here, and the author's trying to get across this thing. It's great for downtown, some other places. So just something to be sure that going forward, it's more the right art in the right place.
thank you. Moving on to our associate in events. Jamie isn't able to be with us. We're planning on our October 19th workshop. I met with Pat Robinson this morning on a number of matters. Pat has committed to try and get a degree of city staff participation. I think we're up to 80 or so registrants at this point. I've reached out to the Longboat Key Federation, where they've participated some in the past. And hope that we're going to proceed. Patrick, Jamie, and I are meeting on Friday to go through some of the details on this. Holiday party with the first Wednesday here, so we're making arrangements for that and trying to get some special sponsorship this year for it that we hope that. And I do have, I have asked the admin person for the commissioners. They have it's on the calendar, I believe, of the commissioners at this point. New newsletter section, Condo Corner. We instituted that last month and we're looking for input for this month. So Judy, do you have have you received anything directly or indirectly on it?
Anything sent in was supposed to go to the DSCA email address.
Right.
And I would assume then it would be forwarded to me. And that has not happened. Either that means nothing came in or it means they haven't forwarded it yet. The whole point is to try to give residents who live in the condos that are members of this association an opportunity to kind of exchange ideas about things that work in their residences. And in this particular first example, it was, how do you make new members feel welcome? I don't know what was reflected back at this point. It would be the idea is to kind of make that almost like a chat room, so to speak. Yep. And perhaps it could grow into something that would be useful. Just encourage more attention to the newsletter itself.
So this is a challenge to the member reps on the call today. You would look at last month's newsletter, and if you have some input to that, send it to the DSCA address, and then we'll get it to Judy for possible editing or discussion. Patrick, Green Space Committee?
Nothing for the committee.
Okay. Peter, homeless?
Not directly. I'll pass on the homeless and wait until health and safety.
No, health and safety. Okay, you're up.
Kath, do you have something to say?
No, except, we are going to be meeting so that we can, right, that's coming up.
We'll have our meeting tomorrow
Yeah.
at the police department. We'll have further information on the City Watch program after that.
And have something specific probably next month to
Yes.
bring back to the board. There's
We would have had it this meeting, except, I mean, we had to move for
Right.
several reasons.
Okay. Transportation Committee, Roger.
Okay, just a moment. I just wanted to remind us, some years ago, that this organization endorsed the roundabouts on US 41. And of course, they've been under construction with the 14th, the 10th, and the Fruitville. And now we have Gulfstream open. There is some angst around Gulfstream. We've had a series of fender benders, one every 5 or 6 years. To be above average. I've had an opportunity to review the tapes that were made, and virtually all of them are driver error, in which drivers fail to yield or change lanes in an inappropriate manner based upon the signage. And so we did run a roundabout education program at the farmers market before COVID. I'm not sure what, if anything, can be done, although we still have lots of literature about how to use a roundabout, how it works. I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I'm wondering, I'll phrase it that way, if we should do some focus on our condo members. And whether they feel up to speed about dealing with this new method, which is really a very old method. But anyway, suggestions, ideas?
What do you mean by that? Can you just explain? What are you wanting, or what kind of engagement do you want from condo reps?
Well, previously, we made sure people had literature
Yes.
and information about how to use the roundabouts. We referred to videos that showed how to do that. We could do that in a newsletter. I'm not sure how far to go beyond that.
Sure.
But it appears that education might be the thing that's lacking. There's some concern about design, but I don't think that's a major issue.
Are the accidents in Gulfstream people in the roundabout or coming in or both causing both?
Yeah, well, the one I saw, yes, oh, I'm sorry, no, are these, for example, a guy got tailgated 2 days ago. Person came up, yielded with somebody who was coming, the guy ran in the back. Okay, you're familiar with that. The one I saw yesterday was the guy came in from the north, ignored the yield sign, and hit a guy headed out to the islands. Yeah.
So it's someone not paying attention.
Yeah, well, and, you know, not paying attention, not paying, and I might then refer to David, who is really interested in how we might.
Yeah, I have circulated, most of you have seen the zebra
Yes,
costume.
yes.
Okay, this idea came from Bolivia, of all places, where zebra crossing, like in England
Sure.
and Bolivia, means what we call a crosswalk. So there's a connection between zebra and crosswalks. And in Bolivia, they dress these juvenile delinquents, kind of, instead of going to the slammer, in these uniforms. So I said, what the heck? What if we, the idea here is, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a zebra costume that's about 8 foot tall, inflatable, and with a sign that says yield ahead. And the idea is to take, in kind of in a whimsical way, try and get people compliant. So I've talked with the police department. Pat Robinson is supportive of doing this. We have no budget. So the police are not going to help, the city's not going to help from a budget standpoint. And the key thing here is not that a person would stand out on the corner, you know, for hours at a time. It's to get images and use social media and using the city. And I'm confident on the newspaper on Friday, we're gonna get some press coverage. So to take a serious need and approach it in a way that is kind of goofy, lighthearted, but the message is there. And the particular thing here is right as we start season, because we've got people coming back and tourists and stuff like that. So I bought 2 costumes. I've been dressing up, and I'll tell you, it's a little toasty in there. But I would like, I don't know if we need a motion or a consensus, that I think to have this be a DSCA initiative says something about DSCA being for things and trying to help with issues. I think you make clear, I think there's a feeling in this board that the roundabouts are working, okay? Nobody's talking about changing, but how can we make it better? How can we do this better? And I'm also reminded that there's a joint Longboat Key City Commission meeting, and I'm looking to try and engage with the Federation there to see, you know, their support. So I've said enough. Has anybody?
Can I insert something?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was recently an article, I think it might have been in the New York Times, and it must have been within the last 10 days because I can remember it clearly. And it was an article on the increasing use of roundabouts in various cities across the country. And I looked at the list and I thought, why isn't Sarasota there? But there are other cities where this is just, you know, a popular and growing and becoming more accepted. And then there was interviews. Most people like them, some people hate them. I think that's kind of where we are. That might be a good source of information to consult, Roger, or anybody else, just to see what is going on and how they do things in those other American cities that are just introducing this. But evidently, it's just growing exponentially. And there, I think, also was similar coverage on one of the Sunday TV news shows. So there's other conversations going on about using roundabouts across the country. And maybe somebody could, you know, do a sampling and bring in, there might be ideas that work that we could bring here.
Roger or somebody shared some links, so I'll loop you into that. Good thought, Judy. Okay, so do we need a motion on
What are you looking for? I mean, what would you like us to see?
I would like to associate that this is a DSCA, is this a DSCA initiative or is this a David Lowe initiative?
Is this to make awareness, build awareness on how to drive a roundabout, is basically what we're getting at.
And to yield, I mean,
And to
one
yield,
message is yield.
Not surrender.
Right.
From a standpoint of yield as a added safety for pedestrians and the bicyclists, I think that fits our model here. As to people who are involved in accidents, I would ask the SPD to provide the zip codes of those involved in accidents or those who were the initiator of failure to yield, and guess that many of them are not 34236. That, in other words, our population is pretty educated. If you've been through it a few times, you know to take it really slow because it's the people who don't come there all the time.
Well, and the county has about 15 or 18 roundabouts. And further out.
Okay, so for now, let's just leave it and I'll come back next month. I've got a couple of these. I've been funding some drone work and stuff, and we have a vision of possibly doing a 1-minute video, something on this that could be shareable. Okay, zoning, I don't have anything on zoning. Is there anything? I know the restaurants, bars, nightclub thing is coming up and my head swims.
On the 9th. No, October 9th. The 19th or 14th or whatever, I know it's coming up, right?
Okay, we're running out of time, so we'll, Bay Park Conservancy, anything, Bob?
Bay Park had some outreach meetings recently. I believe there were 7 in total. But they announced that they have permits to improve the seawall. They have permits for installing the day docks. And they're planning now 3 dry dock size restaurants. One at 10th and Tamiami, which was already in the master plan. 2 in Centennial Park at the water's edge. One of them was in the master plan. I'm not sure the second one is in the master plan. But at the end of the day, it's, for those of us who are really close by, we're mostly pretty excited about it. The people are concerned about the views. But the reality, these restaurants are going to be approximately 4,500 square feet. With proper elevation for being in a flood zone. Other than that, I think they're going to work pretty well. Their concern is parking, particularly in Centennial Park, with the boaters, and then if you have 2 restaurants there. And I think maybe those meters in Centennial Park may be a help and encourage people to seek alternate ways to get there. Uber, or I'd like to see a shuttle similar to what Duval's has on downtown. Paul and maybe the Bay Park could have a couple shuttles. They come around and pick up people. That sort of thing. Getting people into the park is going to be key as it gets busier and busier.
Okay, thank you, Bob. CCNA, we talked about, I'm going on Saturday. Rosemary, we had a community meeting last week. I think we had over 100 people. We had 3 commissioners there, I think. You attended, Vice Mayor, but we had 3 commissioners, and the not so hot news is the park is laid, who knows, in a month at least it's kind of running. So, yeah, a lot of energy in this meeting, and a lot of business owners, which was a good thing. With that said, let our Platinum Associate members, who do we, is it? Oh, hi. Come on down and make your introductions, please.
All right. Hi, guys.
Hi. Come on over here.
Hey, everyone. I'm Ani Comantius with Berg Simpson Law Firm. We do construction defect litigation. I do their marketing. We represent associations and condominiums with poor workmanship. I'm the liaison to Jamie, who's not here. But I'll introduce the Platinum members. We have Paul with ServPro.
Hello. How is everybody? Good. Hey, so with ServPro, we're your emergency services provider. I'm happy at this time of the year to tell you, as if you don't already know, we're coming out of the hurricane season, which is fabulous. What we are noticing though is an uptick in mold calls. A lot of calls coming in, a lot of them from damage that occurred back in Ian. So it takes a little while for mold to grow. Sometimes it's hidden and it's growing in areas, and then it pops through the drywall and you can see it. By that time, it's very obvious, but it's also a larger problem. So if you have any kind of mold damage, let us know. We're happy to help you out. Thanks.
Thanks. And then is Steve here? I don't think Steve's here. And Reva, I don't think so. Fred, is Fred? Fred Grady,
Fred.
yes, is online.
Fred, unmute yourself, sir. Okay.
I can take 20 more minutes.
And we do have a rep from,
Oh, yeah.
Kristen?
Oh, yes, hi.
Okay.
Come on up with some, you got some new news for us. We'd love to hear it.
So, my name is Kristen Lynch. I'm from Cadence Bank. So I work with Reva. So I think many of you know Reva. She's part of our HOA part of it. I am in the same location as her, right on Links Avenue. But I'm the branch manager of the branch itself. So We are a full service bank, so we can do just about anything. On the HOA side, we can do financing, we can do deposits. Likewise, on the consumer and commercial side, we can also do all of those things at full service and do lending. So just wanted to make you aware. Although I am new to Cadence, I do come with over 25 years of banking experience. So.
Great.
They're a great company.
Oh, well, thank
We're-
you. Thank you. And we have 2 free-hour parking right there.
All right, have we got anybody else?
That's it, but I have them.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. With that said, our next meeting is November 1st. And just FYI, gang, I'm going to be away for a couple weeks starting the 13th. So I'm going to try and get everything I can wrapped up and events ahead of that for a couple weeks. So
Comments from member reps?
yeah, any comments from the member reps? Anything, Charlie, or Dick Rivera? Okay, I'm not here. Okay, Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
I'm new here, as you know, but I get the feeling that the member reps don't have much input to anything. Is that a true statement?
We would love input. In fact, we would love participation in our various committees. So if you or any of the member reps, in fact, I was just contacted by, I can't remember who today, asking to be involved in zoning. Is that you, Jim?
Yeah, Jim.
Okay. Jim, you were expressing interest in.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah.
So I wrote a letter to the Observer a couple weeks ago. I forwarded it on to David. He's read it. And, you know, you're limited in a letter to the editor. So the devil's in the details, but one of the things I'm thinking about is something similar to the transfer of development rights that was done in the Rosemary District for the downtown core. And it would be probably, again, written slightly different than that, but I wanted to volunteer to be on the zoning committee. I talked to one commissioner already. Yeah, really, probably this organization is probably the best organization to come to the commission with a very basic concept, so that then the DSCA and staff would work out the details, because the devil's always in the details in these kind of zoning ordinances. So anyway, I just want to try to keep it brief. That's all I got right now.
Sure. I mean, we love input in community participation. At times we have trouble getting active committee participation, but if you are interested or you know others.
Well, one more comment, David.
Yeah.
I think Catherine was trying to address this out of the board. Catherine, why don't you tell them what you're trying to do?
So what we are going to be doing is getting member reps more active in just getting your condo association more informed and more engaged in some of the topics that we talked about today. So that's going to be more forthcoming, and we're just kind of organizing. And are you with the condo rep for your building?
Yes,
Okay.
100.
Okay, all right, good. So that's great.
We
Thanks
welcome
that
it.
you're
If
here.
there's
Yes.
ever an impression that we're not looking for input, I would love to talk with you or others, because we're wanting more and more involvement. I think DSCA is getting more and more active, for lack of a better word, wherever we're.
And I think for your role right now, the best thing that we're looking for is for you to engage your own community and make them more knowledgeable of what DSCA is, and have them, invite them to be a part of this.
All right, so next meeting, November. We got it. Oh, yeah.
The member representative, are they always invited to the board meeting?
For sure, yeah.
Okay, and can I ask questions during the board meeting or just when the
We,
board meeting
we
is done?
actually asked that be at the end of the board meeting, but we're a little loose on that sometimes.
Well, the reason I ask that is because there's questions you'd love to have asked the parking guy a couple of times. And I think I came one other time and I remember somebody saying, oh, sorry, you really can't, you're not even, you can't really even ask anything. But there was questions that would have been,
Yeah,
great to ask.
what the trick about that is time.
Yeah, no, I understand. Just trying to clarify what the ground rules are. Sure.
So let's talk.
So may I ask you guys a question that maybe you can answer around the whole discussion about parking? I know he was comparing all the time, and maybe you guys can answer this, us to the other downtown cities. But don't we view that we were really competing with like Lakewood Ranch and the outlying areas to get the kind of businesses and working environment that we want downtown as opposed to just Sarasota in general? And do we look at that and say, what are we doing to make sure that we're attracting the most desirable businesses and clientele and workers, et cetera, in downtown versus having our corridor move to the freeway? That was just a question I would like to ask.
Okay,
well, I think it was part of what Peter and I and others were commenting on, that the previous parking master plan took into account the downtown dynamics and who the workers were and what their needs were and how to balance that program. So for those who could afford it, visitors coming in from out, pay the ticket, that's fine. You want to park right where you shop, pay that, et cetera. So that was where I think we were trying to push
Because
back
you want to
here.
ask, how much does it cost to park at restaurants in the suburbs? And how much does it pay to go shopping in the suburbs?
And that some of it
And
is,
how do you compete with that if you're not doing something special?
Well, that's part of the issue is that Sarasota is unique. And it's nice to know what Bradenton's doing, Naples doing, so what, but what we need to concentrate on, I don't want to be Naples. I didn't move to Naples. I don't want to be Bradenton. I couldn't move to Bradenton. I moved to Sarasota for its uniqueness.
Right.
And I don't really care if Bradenton pays $100 for a permit or something. What will attract people to Sarasota? And that's, I think, where you're going. And I think we try to keep that conscious in our deliberations, but it's good to have somebody like you bring the question up once in a while to remind us.
Just curious.
all right. Thanks again, Donna, for being here. And so November 1st, our next meeting, and with that said, let's be adjourned in time for a glass of wine.
Perfect.
thank you.